Hey, what's up, everyone? Today we're taking a look at Voyages SF number 13, one of 10 issues of Voyages that contains Star Wars EU relevant and EU in continuity game supplemental material, in this case being published as it was in 1990, related to the Weston Games role-playing series. The feature here, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Now, a lot of times these magazines contain original stories, original characters, original vehicles that in some cases find their way into other EU sources. What this feature is about, what makes it so cool, what a treasure trove, is that it's actually a curated list of all mentioned known planets and sectors, and actually mapped out on the next page, that were available in all extant EU sources at the time. Being 1990, there were only so many, but there were still quite a few. But again, this is sort of pre-Zon, pre-Thrawn trilogy, pre-resuscitation of Expanded Universe. But you still have a lot of the early Del Rey, Brian Daley, and L. Neil Smith novels. You've got the films themselves. You've got other magazines like this. And you also have, of course, the amazing treasure trove of the Weston Games role-playing series. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, How I Wonder Where We Are, illustration by J.B. King, curated by Glenn Allison. Little dialogue here. I sort of sympathize with the third rebel here, who says, what? Dagobah on Tatooine again, right? Doesn't it feel like his fans, even in the new canon, we're constantly revisiting some of the same planets? But of course, there are quite a few more, as this proves already by 1990. And this is just the partial list. There's more on the next page. And not just of planets, but of sectors too, all known and mentioned sectors, with a map indicating where they actually are in relation to one another. Brief introduction here that just explains that this list is current up to the Weston Games supplement Jedi's Honor, and includes other things from other RPG mags like Voyages, like Challenge Space Gamer Voyages SF, including novels like the Lando novels and the Brian Daley Han Solo novels. By the way, quick historical note about Voyages SF, this magazine here. There are 10 magazines you need to collect from the Voyages run to collect all the Star Wars EU compatible things like this. Voyages is a little challenging to collect because it changes its name 3 times over the course of those 10 issues. It starts off as Voyages to the Worlds of Science Fiction Gaming, then shortens that to Voyages to the Worlds of SF Gaming, and then just becomes Voyages SF. So, happy hunting. Take a look at the next page here, where the list continues here of planets, but sectors as well, with a legend, by the way, that indicates what all these little parentheses are at the end of each reference, right? It's footnoted basically, right? And there are specific footnotes actually too that explain in some cases some of the deductions needed to make sense of where these planets are in relation to other. But take a look at the bibliography and how deep the well at this point, even pre-1991, already is. Everything from Weston Game Galaxy guides to supplements like, oh my gosh, like Crisis on Cloud City, what a classic, one that originally came with a deck of Sabbath cards, and good luck finding that today. And things like this. What's AAE? Well, it's Alone Against the Empire, a feature from Challenge 32, a magazine feature we will cover in another video. Obviously, the Daley and Smith novels, more West End game content, Other Space 2, you gotta love it. Other RPG mags, even things like, well, duh, you know, Star Wars by George Lucas, right? Even the films themselves. And here we have the galaxy mapped out by sector, okay? The Outer Rim, the corporate sector, very familiar to West End game fans at the time, the Imperial Core, and so on and so forth. I'll just do a quick scan over this for anyone who wants to pause the video and get a closer look. Now, one critique that's been made about resources like this, including this feature here, is that some of what you'll see has been updated based on what we've learned in subsequent EU material. Now, to me, the fringe territories here too, to me, that's not anything that I think reduces the value, right, or certainly sort of the historical interest of a magazine like this, or of magazines like this, right, for their contributions to EU lore. This was the holocron before it existed, right? I mean, this is such an essential resource that is probably used by other contributors to RPG mags like this, as well as authors to Expanded Universe going forward itself. Of course, things like the Essential Guide to the Essential Atlas update in some cases where some of these planets are, but only based on more information that the EU sort of fed us, right? You know, effectively retconning what these sources told us at the time, right? Based on other information we learned in other EU sources later, right? So again, every once in a while you'll get sort of snooty critiques about how this stuff doesn't count, it's not official. This is based and deduced on everything in the official Expanded Universe content at the time to produce this really wonderful resource for all RPG gamers at the time, again, including future EU authors themselves in future work. So a really wonderful reason to pick up Voyages SF. Again, one of 10 really cool issues containing all sorts of Star Wars EU compatible role-playing game supplemental information, which we will highlight in future videos. See you next time.